Hi there, Mike Wolf here, and welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurs Making a Difference, where we bring together different, entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, visionaries, people that are having an impact on this world and helping other people and giving back. And so today we've got a couple known as the Mojo Duo, and they're co-founders of Mojo Life Coaches. And I'm just going to read the bio here. Steve Conlan and Elaine Stephanos, internationally recognized as the Mojo Duo, are life coaches, clinical therapists. They deliver powerful tools and strategies so people can manage and overcome their anxiety, overwhelm, depression, and many other mental health issues. And they've drawn upon 20-plus years of training. They're experts in behavior dynamics and facilitate rapid transformation in people's lives by educating and empowering them to annihilate their negative thoughts, ditch the drama, and live a life of joy, balance, and fulfillment. Having been coached and certified by the world-renowned Tony Robbins organizations, they deliver top-tier, customized coaching programs that unleash the authentic you, uncovering a world of possibilities that instantly transform your life. They believe you already have the power within. It just needs to be reignited through simple yet powerful tools and strategies that create inner growth and lifetime transformation. So welcome, Steve and Elaine. Thanks for being on the show with us today.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure to have you here. Thanks so much. So it sounds like you've been doing this for a little while. How did you get started? What inspired you to go down this route to helping other people through what you do?
I'll tell you what, it was actually some personal pain and suffering, which you hear with a lot of people. I basically was in mortgage banking for many years, doing a living, chasing money and the paycheck and all that. And after I lost close to $1 million, got fired, a lot of things, life happened basically. I ended up going into depression for many years and just felt so stuck. Me as a man, my identity, it was all just kind of unraveled. And we're not taught how to deal with blows in life, right? When you go to school, we're not taught these type of things. So I basically, Elaine actually went to a funeral one evening, and I just couldn't go. And I stayed home, and I basically turned off the TV because this gentleman looked like me, had similar personality, and he died at age 40, right? I left a family behind. And I turned off the TV and I threw my foot down and I said, I am done with this life. I wasn't born for this mediocre, quiet desperation. So I just threw it down and I said, now what? And then that took me on years of spiritual journey to learn how I do depression. And I actually was able to get out of depression permanently within 3 days. And then operationally, kept doing the same things for 30 days, and I've never been back
Wow.
because and it's pretty powerful. And ever since, I've now shown hundreds of other people, dozens of suicidal people. I mean, I've really helped the gamut, and through a lot of trial and error, through my own life and through hundreds of clients, we've developed a Mojo method, which is really, mind-blowingly powerful, that we see results that are so warp speed that we sometimes drop our own jaws saying, really, that happened? And so it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. So, wow, well that's huge, and a lot of people don't know this about me. I actually I'm known as a real estate guy and now interview guy, I guess. But before that, I have a degree actually in psychology, which I've never directly used, but depression is obviously, it just puts people in a frame of mind where they just can't, they have trouble even waking up in the morning, and they just don't want to do anything. I had a depression episode myself when I was much younger, and I know how hard it is to pull yourself out of that. And so, it's a pretty amazing that, you went through it, and then all of a sudden you could pull yourself back out of it. What were some of your strategies? What were some of the things that worked for you?
Well, I can share with you because I constantly do research on this because it's now my passion, my reason to live. I wake up every day and I say, who can I get out of unnecessary suffering? Because no one just teaches us this. So now that I know the keys and the solutions to it, I just want to scream it from the mountaintops to people. So really the biggest thing that we see with all of our clients is we have about 60,000 thoughts throughout the day, and 40,000 of them are negative. That's the average person. So some people are even more. 50,000 of them are really negative.
I imagine if you're depressed, probably 59,999 of them are I mean, sometimes you just play these negative loops over in your head, and you always kind of, foresee these really bad things happening to you, and it's really hard sometimes to see the positive. So what do we do about those negative thoughts that keep playing over and over?
So what we do is, so it's all in our psychology. So once I figured out that I'm 100%, not 90, 80, 100% in control, no matter what happens in my life, I can shift it. I can give it a meaning. I can give it a different perspective where now it will empower me and give me feelings of in control, empowerment, feeling, because the way that we think changes the way that we feel inside, and then the way I feel, the emotions, we just label them. There's just energy in our body, and if I can change my thought, I can change my emotion, and then the way I feel, then my behavior changes, my actions, my ability to basically get unstuck and move forward. And it all starts with how we think, and we're not taught in our regular school system of how to think for happiness, joy, peace, abundance. We're just not. So we kind of just survive through our life, kind of get knocked around, get triggered by different things, loss of life. That's actually the number one that really knocks people down, is loss of life that we coach. That really can turn people, and what we see is that it's like a negative vortex that never stops, that because it's like momentum. You're either going to have momentum going down or momentum going up. And that's the reason why millionaires become billionaires. It's just all momentum, right? And that's why people who are dealing with mild depression sometimes end up getting into a spiral that they just can't get out of because it's reinforcing.
Right, and that's absolutely true, and it's very true what you say about momentum as well. And it seems like when you're going down, you go down very rapidly, and a lot of people unfortunately lose hope during that phase, and they don't realize that life is cyclical and things come back. It's just like anything else; it comes back. But unfortunately, a lot of people give up before they get to that point. And so I know I, as I mentioned, I struggled at one point myself, and one of the biggest compliments to me now. Most people don't believe me if I tell them I was depressed at one point in my life. They say, no way, there's no way. And I'm sure you get that too, because you seem extremely happy and joyful right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't even, Mike, I can't even tell you. I used to wake up every day going, why are you with me? I don't even want to be with me because I'm so pathetic. That's the stuff that was going on in my mind.
Right. Yeah. And this gentleman sitting next to me right now is a totally different person than he used to be. And it's because he has learned how to shift that mindset from that dark space to the other side. And that's exactly where we're coming from our hearts and our souls. We've lived through that dark pain. And we can absolutely transform people because not only do we have the tools and strategies through our education and our clinical casework with our clients, but we've also lived it. And that's like, we get when people come to us in a coaching session and they say, Steve or Elaine, I'm giving up on life. I just don't know where to turn. Well, we have our Mojo method that we can get them through our strategies and teach them and educate them and empower them. But that's the education. We have that extra, we get this because we've cried those tears. We've lived that life. And just a little bit of background because you asked how we came up with the Mojo, the whole company. And Steve suffered with the depression, but I also, I am divorced, and so I can really relate to women who've gone through. My husband had an affair, and I went through a period where I was doubting myself. My self-worth. Am I good enough? What did I do wrong? That negative talk, that monkey mind that goes on of my self-worth. So when we have clients who come to us and say, my marriage is dissolving and, I'm unhappy, I have so much uncertainty and doubt, what am I going to do now? I'm a single mom, you know? And so, again, with our Mojo method, we can get our clients and people through that, but I've cried those tears, so I can relate to them. And likewise, a couple of things. Both of my parents are deceased, and I lost them at a very young age. So again, that resiliency that I got through that. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it was scary. You know, I called myself the orphan, because I was so young. You know, and but how did I get through that? You know, so we teach people how to deal with the grief, and that's a big, like, you know, having lived through that. And like you say, how do we smile? I'm always, how do I shift? I shift. Whenever I get to that sad space, Mother's Day is coming up, you know? I could be under a pillow and crying all day long. But guess what? That's unnecessary suffering that I'm putting on myself. And I know my mother doesn't want me to live in sadness and pain and sorrow, you know? That's her spirit in me, and I get there. And that's how I can shift through it like that, if I go to that sad spot. And then in both my parents, because I've lost both my parents, and then the story even gets more interesting in that just last year I was in the hospital, and I had diverticulitis, which is a colon infection. And I was in the hospital, and my colon perforated.
Oh boy.
And yeah, it was really, really scary. And I was about 20 minutes away from dying. The on-call surgeon came up to my hospital room and said, Elaine, I need to take you into surgery right now. And I'm like, what? And he says to me, he goes, this is a life-saving procedure, surgery, not a life-threatening one. You have no choice. So I called Steve, and I'm like, ah! You know?
That was a great call.
And that's a big, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've been through so much, and literally when I was going into that, you know, surgery, I pulled from my spiritual space, and I said, you know, I had no question in my mind I was going to pull through fine. And I said, my mission is to really help people who are out there who are going through hard times, because if I have the energy and that spirit in me to pull myself through this, and the tools and the strategies to pull myself through, my mission also is to pull other people through that. And that's where we get like lit up with what we do, because this isn't a job for us. You know, it's really not, like you were saying earlier when we were talking off camera, you know, this is what we do. This is what lights us up.
Mm-hmm. It becomes more or less your calling, and I think
That's it.
you know when I was going through my depressed state, you know, I was always thinking, why is this happening to me? Why does this have to happen to me? And it wasn't until many years, you know, later that I actually looked back and I realized the reason it happened to me is, one, it made me a much more humble, much more empathetic person, and it also allows me to help other people who are maybe going through the same thing. Whereas, you know, prior to that, I would have thought, oh, well, you know, if you're depressed, it's because you're doing something wrong. You always want to blame the victim. But then, you know, as you go through it, you realize that it could happen to absolutely anybody, and it's just, you know, it's chemicals and in your brain and neurons, and it's stuff that you can't always explain, and sometimes it is circumstances, and it could be a variety of things that triggers it. And so we have to try and help people, and back then, of course, it was very, you know, you didn't talk about it, and now it's becoming a lot more, society's becoming a lot more open and transparent, where we can actually discuss these things and not be ashamed that this is happening to us.
Exactly. And now there's really a scary statistic that I read, that it's now becoming epidemic proportions of the way our society is now. It's now 1 out of 3 people are either anxious, I mean like real anxiety, or depressed. And 75% of the people who are depressed are also dealing with anxiety. So it goes together. So that is like, if you're talking about 1 out of 3 people, that's close to 100 million people that are walking around, and we're finding them. They're coming to us. They're like, I need help, and I need help now. And
wow, that's a very scary statistic that there's that prevalent.
Yeah, it's and just a lot of the things with just the stress and overwhelm, and you know, the overstimulation of information and what to do, how to process these things. I think just the way our society is, and there's also a lot of fear out there, right? So everything mixed in a cocktail. A lot of people, and because we're not taught how to control and manage, we kind of like live unconsciously. That's literally what we find, is people are just trying to get through their day, but they're not consciously, like, we even have a method to show people how to quickly get out of that negative thought and then choose. This is the biggest thing. You choose an emotion that you want to feel, so you're being proactive in life. Who does that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's fantastic. Yeah.
so we shift them so that they can choose and be a director of their own life and choose an emotion that really inspires them, so they can go from fear to hope or faith or excitement, or, hey, I can go from fear to feeling sexy if I want. And what we do is we show them that they can go to a memory in the past, or you can create a whole new thought, that because the way our brain is, it can't determine if something is really happening in the real time or if it's just happening in my head, but it still affects me with my energy and how I'm feeling. So that is so powerful. And all you really need to do is to do these type of things consistently for 30 days. And that's what I did to get out of my depression, is you have a whole new life, because your perception of what's going on in life changes the way you feel, and the way you feel is really your life. If I'm feeling depressed, I have a depressed life.
Right.
So
Right, right. So I don't want to give away all your trade secrets on necessarily on my video, but can you share some of the strategies, you can use to pull yourself into that state?
Sure. So kind of taking what I was just explaining, is we came up with a fun way, because a lot of people are dealing with a lot of stress nowadays. It's just a lot of responsibility, and they come to us and they just feel the weight of the world. So what we did was come up with a fun, quick little, it's similar to stop, drop, and roll,
Yeah.
but it's stop, shift, and it's Mojo Time. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll do it with you.
Yeah. So,
All right, let's see it.
all right. So this is what it is. Let's say you just want to check your body constantly to see how you're feeling, because a red flag of I'm feeling just a negative emotion. We call it negative. We label it negative, but it's a disempowering feeling. It could be fear. It could be rejection. I feel lonely. Overwhelm. Any thought that you're thinking creates this feeling, and it's either what we call negative is when it subtracts energy from us, and it's like an energy vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm feeling powerful or sexy or energetic or excited, I'm feeling, because I'm thinking these things, I'm feeling it in my body. So I'm giving myself energy, right? So those are the two things. We kind of get caught up in negative, positive, but that's really all it is do I want to feel like I have energy or take it away? So that's all we're doing with this is, so let's say you're very fearful. You're about to go into a meeting, very fearful. So what we do is, do it with me, is we go, stop. And the more powerful you can say stop, and you're saying stop to here because you're not doing it to other people, what you're doing is commanding your unconscious, which is 95% of your brain. You're telling your unconscious, which is your emotional brain, by the way, that we're shifting. I'm not in this state anymore, this negative state. So you go stop, and then you proactively choose what emotion or feeling do I want to experience right now. So you pick one, Mike.
So you just went stop from fear. Let's say it was fear. So you say you're telling your unconscious, stop. So you don't want to feel the fear anymore. So what positive emotion do you want to shift to now? From fear to what?
So you can pick anything.
Pick up something.
Oh boy! Wow, you're really putting me on the spot. I wasn't planning on this. Let's shift it from fear to joy and happiness.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay. So what you do is, so you just went stop. Now you go shift, and now put your hands together and shift like that to the side.
I'm shifting.
Got it. So, and now we want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay. And now we want you to think of a past memory Okay.
Or you can
I see the beach.
create.
I see the beach, and I'm feeling really good right now.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Or
I have an
you
ice
can.
cream in hand, by the way, but that's another story. I have an ice cream. I have a bit of an ice cream problem. We're going to leave that for another episode.
Okay. Now, what we want you to do is visualize. Now, get there. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Now, I want you to see. Tell me what you see. I want you to like pretend you're a director of your own movie, and you're playing this movie out. So, tell me what you see.
Well, I see palm trees and sand and beautiful ocean, and I'm in my happy place.
Good. Okay. Now, what smells do you smell?
I smell my coconutty suntan lotion.
Oh,
Mm.
awesome. Now, what are you feeling? What do you feel? Like the
I
touch.
feel very relaxed.
How about touch? What do you like your feet? What are your feet and your hands feeling and your body? What feelings?
I can definitely feel the sand, and I can feel a slight breeze, and I'm feeling really good right now. We have to just keep doing this for the rest of the interview.
Yeah, yeah. And the last thing, what are you smelling? Oh yeah, I already smelled your.
You smelled the coconut.
Yeah.
So
And the ice cream. I can smell the ice cream.
There you go. There you go.
So now, Mike, with your eyes closed, you're going to imagine a dial that's in the middle of your chest, and you're going to reach down. And I know you're feeling really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to reach down, and you're going to dial that puppy up, and you're going to double that feeling, and your mind's going to know exactly how to do that. So that good feeling that you're feeling, you're going to double it.
Love it.
Okay, so open up your eyes.
Wow, it's
And
really
it's-
bright in here. I feel like I'm got the sun shining on me.
Yeah. Now to really lock it in, what we want you to do at the very end, because you really want to like build that lock it in, and to make it fun also, we want you to go, it's Mojo time.
It's Mojo time.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, great.
Because what you're doing is you're shifting from that negative and you're into the positive, and you're declaring, and because we also teach the law of attraction, you're declaring it's Mojo time. You're telling the universe it's Mojo time. I'm not in that negative space, that darkness, right? You're stepping up, and you can feel that through your body because you went through the sensations of the eye. What did you see? What did you smell? What did you touch? I didn't do the taste. I should have done the taste. What did you taste? Ice cream, right?
Of course.
But, yeah. So what you do to lock it in and declare it to the universe, you're saying, it's Mojo time.
I love
And
that.
we work with, and it's interesting because this is the greatest thing, is that we work with all ages, kids who are going through, I mean, it breaks my heart. There's children that we are working with who, they're cutting themselves, and they're being bullied at school. It's just, again, these kids just don't learn these strategies, and they don't know these methodologies. But so we're working with kids, we're working with adults, we're even working with grandmothers, and grandfathers, older people, and then when they learn this, they're like, their inner child even comes out. They're like, I haven't smiled for a year, for decades, and they play this, this little. It takes 30 seconds, right? That exercise.
Yeah, it takes no time at all.
Seconds.
Absolutely.
And it's easy. That's the coolest thing, is that it's so easy to do, and you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere at any time. Just take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and you can shift from that negative to that positive with that simple strategy. Just flood your mind. Flood it. And if you had a past memory that you went to, but we can also create something new. You can either do it one way. I always want to go to Bora Bora. Someday we're going there.
I've been there, actually. It's really nice,
Yeah.
but anyway, you don't want to spend too long there. It's very small.
Yeah.
Go to a bunch of islands while you're there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We'll go to Fiji and visit.
I get excited about travel.
Yeah. We'll visit Tony and Sage in Fiji.
That's right.
But that's where I go. I just visualize, Fiji, and and just, again, you can make it, and that's the greatest thing, is you can use your imagination to get there, and you immediately shift, because who wants to be in that negative, dark space? Not many people.
Of course. Yeah. No,
They
it's
just
not a fun place to be in. That's for sure.
And and that's the beauty of that, is that you can instantly, like Steve was saying, we're 100% in control of what's going on right there, and nobody teaches us how to get there. So that's a simple strategy right there that we.
And also to let you know, biochemically, our cells have receptors, and what we have found is that so many people are living with stress that our cells, it's almost like the Hungry Hippo. It's just used to feeling or eating cortisol, which is like a stress hormone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of us are dealing with so much stress and so tight, and so it ends up sabotaging when we're trying to make these changes. It's still wanting that cortisol. So what we do is get people through that hump so that your receptors start wanting dopamine and serotonin. And these are just the different fun things that we do to work with people to just get them, keep knocking them back into that positivity and that controlling, living consciously instead of just getting triggered by life all the time. And it's literally, it's just amazing. We had a lady last week who was having panic attacks, and we got an emergency call. You got to go over there. So we drove like an hour and some over to her house. She had huge comorbidity meaning a lot of ailments together.
Okay.
She was dealing with general anxiety, extreme depression all her life. She's 52 years old. OCD, since she was a little girl, flipping on light switches and all of this stuff because of the anxiety. And it's just absolutely...
And perfectionism, too. That was her biggest.
That was a big one. Perfectionism, right? So she had all these things stacked, and we did a VIP session with her where we went to her house and spent hours with her, and we're so happy to hear that we talked to her last night, and just after one session, the OCD of her switching on to the lights and everything and needing these dishes to be a certain way, broken. Done.
Oh, wow, wow.
I mean, in one session. So it's just, and she's out of depression.
Yeah.
She's not having these panic attacks.
Yeah.
And what's really amazing is that she was telling us when we were there that she's having these panic attacks in her psychologist's office and her psychiatrist's office. And they're going, here, take Valium, take drugs. And they didn't know how to do it. And we spent about 5 hours with her, no panic attacks, no anxiety or anything like that. So we're finding a lot of our clients have seen psychologists and psychiatrists, I mean, for 6 to 10 years, and we're getting stuff, real results within weeks, which is just amazing to us. So
yeah, I think the biggest problem, and I'm not a doctor, and I don't want anybody to take any of my advice as medical advice, and if you're on whatever, don't stop without seeing your doctor. But for me, when I was depressed and I took antidepressants, it actually made me feel worse. And I just think that there's obviously the pharmaceutical companies, they want to keep you on their products as long as possible, and they're not really trying to cure you. They just want to make you feel a little bit better so you stay on it forever. And I just don't have a very high opinion of the whole industry, and I'm not really a big fan of taking pills. So I'm glad. I mean, I pulled myself out without. I actually just gave up on the drugs. I pulled myself out using some of my own techniques, and I started to travel, and I started to change some of the patterns in my mind and in my behaviors. And I think it's great that, and I think it's great that you guys are doing stuff like that as well, and showing people that we shouldn't be so reliant on drugs. We should try and find other methods, and sometimes they work. And once again, I don't want anybody to if your doctor told you to take something, don't stop because I said this, please. But I think if we find other mechanisms, other ways of dealing with things, and getting to the root of the problem as opposed to masking it, I think that's so much better.
Woo-hoo!
Hey, we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
Oh my God. And that's what we see. People are like, well, no, that's depression's in my family, or OCD's in my family, or all of these excuses. They don't understand. It's all in our minds and our thoughts, the way that, just like those patterns, and we just get stuck in a pattern, and that same consciousness that created the problem usually can't solve it. So that's why a coach or a third party to come in who really knows what they're doing to get you out of it, it happens so quick. It's amazing. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I believe the same thing about the drugs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it actually made me feel worse, and that's just me personally, and I'm sure it helps maybe some people. It didn't help me. So in any case, we need to wrap things up pretty soon, but I want to ask you this. You've worked with hundreds of people, it sounds like, and what was your biggest success story of the people that you've worked with?
Well, I'll tell you what, Karen last week just blew our minds, because that's jaw-dropping that in one long session where we really go into a lot of the details with her and we cover a lot of different things, but we hit perfectionism she's now at her school. She's a teacher, and now other people are like, "What? Why are you so different?" And she's like, "It was Elaine and Steve, right?" And
awesome.
She did a lot of the work, though.
Yeah.
It's I mean, we're just blessed to be able to work,
Yeah.
to have to work through us. But she did a lot of because she still has to live consciously and do the work. But we showed her behind the veil of like Wizard of Oz. It's like, what's going on in your mind, and so she can understand it. And she's a teacher. She's a learner.
Yeah.
So
and the other thing that is remarkable also is because she's a school teacher, she actually is now teaching the kids some of the strategies that we taught her during her session, because when they were fighting and one of the kids, they were like messing with each other, and she instantly, the kid was like, well, that person doesn't like me anymore, and the kid got really sad. So what Karen did was she used our strategy. One of the strategies that we taught her was, okay, what meaning are you giving that interaction? It doesn't mean that he doesn't like you, So she walked him through the strategy that we taught her. So again, like what you asked that question, like it was like, it is so wonderful. It's the butterfly effect. It's like if she learns it, and now she teaches the kids in her classroom, and then she actually with her father, and she was having some issues with her stepmother, not a very close relationship. She's now mending that relationship through some of the stuff that we taught her. So we work with one person, but around that person, once they start living this intentional living like we're talking about, and finding that mojo within them, because that's our spirits. We all have mojo in us. Absolutely every one of us. But she was stuck. She was stuck in habitual negative patterns. So once we got her out of that, we pulled her, we gave her these tools and strategies to pull herself out of that. Now she's paying it forward, not only by living that way, by living what we call the mojo-licious life. She is. And that's what's really cool about what we do, is that now she's passing it on, passing it forward, paying it forward.
What we have found, Mike, is that it's almost like a ball of yarn, and once you start pulling at some, as you said, get to the lava, the core of the mountain, not chipping at the mountain, we go right to the core of it, and we're pulling that string, and literally all these disorders and ailments start unraveling and melt away. That's literally what we see on a consistent basis. And with the OCD, perfectionism, the depression, her panic attacks, she was having 2 to 3 panic attacks a week. Gone. I mean, and so we're still working with her to get it operationally anchored into her life, because that's what we want. We don't want the veil to kind of close again. No. Let's anchor it in so it shows up in her life for the rest of her life. And that's what we want.
Exactly. Well, that's what it's all about, is not just making a temporary change, but making a lasting change that becomes part of your lifestyle, and so you can stay in this state forever, not have to go back to the old state, which is obviously not serving anybody.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we have to wrap things up. It's been it's been a great interview. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys, and I definitely want to have you back again. But how do people get a hold of you if they want to work with you? What's the best way for them to reach you?
Okay. They can either go to our website at www.mojolifecoaches.com. They can call us at 703-723-MOJO, which is 6656. So again, 703-723-MOJO, 6656. And then you can also email us at Elaine. She's more of the administrator. Elaine, ELAINE, at mojolifecoaches.com.
Well, that's great. Well, I want to thank both of you for being here today, and like I said, it's been really fascinating and been a great conversation. And I hope to chat with you again soon, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
We'd love to.
We certainly will.
Great.
And remember, it's Mojo Time.
Mojo Time, exactly. That's right. Well, thanks so much, guys, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to Entrepreneurs Making a Difference. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.